Hey there, and welcome to You Talk. We highlight stories of individuals across Canada and the diversity that can be found here. I'm your host, Ryan Funk. Several months ago, we talked with Sweta Rajan with Immigrant and International Women in Science Network. IWS Network is a non-for-profit group born out of similar but independent ideas from women who saw the need to provide support and mentorship to fellow immigrant and international women in the STEM fields. Since our initial conversation, IWS Network has hosted several events with plans for many more in the future.
And Ryan, thank you for creating the space for me to come on board again at You Talk Radio and share a little bit about me and my organization. I'm Sweta Rajan. I am a equity, diversity, and inclusion consultant, the co-founder of Immigrant and International Women in Science, and the founder of my consulting firm, Inclusion Advantage. I am really happy to be here with you all today.
Of course, it was a great conversation last time. We talked about the organization, some of the events, some of the concerns that we're seeing right now in the workforce, and it's been a couple of months since our last talk. So, how have things been going? I know there was workshops and talks that the organization. Maybe we should, Immigrant and International Women in Science kind of were hosting.
Yes, as with so many other organizations, we had to rethink how we were structured and how we were going to move forward. Before the pandemic, Immigrant and International Women in Science was, we had about 8 chapters across Canada. And one of the things that we did so well was hold in-person meetings across all our chapters. And so, of course, in the middle of a pandemic, we had to shift all of that and rethink about how we can translate that into a virtual setting. So we have moved now from in-person meetings to virtual meetings. During the pandemic, we did a really quick pivot and then, took on Zoom. As the whole world has discovered Zoom now. And one of the ways that we still maintain that really wonderful space that we created for personal sharing is that at the end of most sessions now, we have breakout rooms where people can still connect with some of their local chapters and city leaders and form the niche networks that we are all looking to form. So we have been quite busy with our presentations. We've had a full roster. We haven't taken a break any of the months. We kept our, meetings and commitments on pace. It's been a wonderful thing to see how we as a community were able to respond to this challenging time. And one of the wonderful things about virtual meetings is that it cuts down on commute times and makes our programs accessible, not just to people who are in particular cities, but, anyone from across the world can now join. So if, listeners or people from Manitoba were interested in joining our meetings, they're more than welcome to. So that's one of the wonderful advantages of going virtual. And we've certainly seen people, chime in from all different places as we've grown as we've pivoted towards having virtual meetings.
Yeah, having those break-off kind of calls and rooms sounds like a great advantage. I know one of the struggles I've heard from numerous people is just like when you have those Zoom calls, sometimes it can get a little chaotic, especially when you're trying to have those more in-depth conversations afterwards, after a discussion.
Yes. I mean, right from the start, our organization has always looked to create that really safe and brave spaces for people to have conversations, like real, meaningful, deep conversations that connect. And we some of our learnings through this year has been about how valuable our community finds that, and how we invite speakers all the time, and they bring tremendous value to our organization and the topics that we discuss. And the magic really happens in the breakout rooms and in these personal conversations where everyone feels that they are now have a space to contribute to and listen to others. So that's been great to see. And we've definitely seen that more and more of our members are interested in having those conversations and connecting beyond just listening to a speaker and gaining knowledge from their experience and expertise.
The accessibility that online provides is just unmatched. So what are kind of the plans moving forward? Hoping to transition again into those in-person meetings, once this pandemic has all disappeared? Or have there been conversations around, a potential hybrid model to, continue to allow people to attend who might not be able to, take part in that transit?
Again, from an accessibility perspective, as you mentioned, we are looking to maintain our Zoom meetings because, even in cities like Vancouver or Toronto, whenever if you're holding meeting in one place, the fact is that, many moms or many people, other women cannot attend the meetings because there's such a big commute time and there's childcare issues and things like that. So we're certainly leading towards a hybrid model moving forward so that we can continue with making our programs accessible to people across Canada. That's always been our goal, to have as many people engaged as possible in our programs and provide community and support to whoever needs it. So we will definitely not move away from in-person meetings, but we are looking to see how we can integrate the accessibility of the online format and the community and the connection of having in-person meetings. So we're looking at creating a bit of a hybrid model moving forward.
You need to adapt in order to, meet the most demand. Yeah. So as an inclusion officer and, making those safe places in the workforce to, address discrimination and racism and all that, unfortunately, over the pandemic, we've seen the increase in anti-Asian racism. As an organization, have you been hearing about racism and hate and discrimination against Asians in the workforce right now? Have those conversations been taking place?
We've certainly invited people. When the racial awakening happened last year in May, end of May, early June, we as an organization made a commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, and we've definitely held the space for our community members to come and engage in these conversations. And what we are seeing is that there is, especially in Vancouver, hate crimes against Asian communities have skyrocketed. And so what we're seeing so much is not so much of, within the STEM fields, it's not so much that people are experiencing discrimination related to the pandemic, but there is a rising concern around their own safety and the safety of their family members or elders or the vulnerable people that they might be caregiving for, or who might be a part of their net communities. And so there is a significant emotional tax that comes with being a part of a certain demographic, which is suddenly now being targeted. And what we are seeing is increased amount of stress and concern because of that.
Yeah, the pressure when you're afraid of something that could happen to your loved ones in the community. It's incredibly difficult to focus on your work.
Yes. And that's the thing, right? I am brown, and I know for a fact that right after 9/11, it was when I was in the States, there was this just sudden awareness of my own skin color that wasn't there just a few days before that. And so, and then there is this, and there's no place to hide. You can't hide the way you look or, how you are seen, as often is in the case of when it's so visible, like your race, your gender, your physical disabilities are some of the things that are very obvious. There's no place that you can get away from them. And so there is this extra layer of nervousness and stress and tension that comes with it, that does take away from being able to be productive at work or, doing your best work. And so, yes, that is a significant concern, and that is happening. And so many organizations are working towards creating supportive environments for their people. And those are the companies that, as we go through this pandemic, are going to see more people be retained and have more resilient and trusting teams, because, it's a very reciprocal engagement. Like when you give, when you trust, when you create a kind of a safe space for your community, your workspace to feel supported, then those communities thrive.
Yeah, and your workers will stay with you and have that loyalty because they know you'll watch your back.
Yeah, and the thing is that our history as human beings on this planet, our biggest advantage is the fact that we thrive in communities, right? Like when you look at us and what differentiates us as a species from all different communities and beings that inhabit this planet with us, it is the fact that we are so awesome at communicating with each other and leaning and supporting and working and collaborating. These are the ones that have distinguished us from other beings and had us just skyrocket as a species in what we've been able to accomplish on this planet. And so when from that, think about the pandemic and how all of us are, in a sense, forced to live in isolation, to live by ourselves, to live in, without communities, without connection, without, just looking at smiles on each other's faces, all these small things that create connection and community are now taken away from us. And we are seeing the deep impact of that. And so what makes workplaces and communities thrive is the fact that we lean on each other. And that's been the biggest thing that I've seen in this pandemic, is that when communities are thriving, they have already systems in place where there has been trust and there has been connection and there has been loyalty, in a sense, built from the get-go. And those communities are thriving right now, even in the middle of this pandemic. It's not that they don't have challenges. It's just that they have the basic foundation that allows them to come through this challenge that we are all in with resilience.
Eventually, there's going to be kind of a rising from the ashes sort of moment where we can finally have that collaboration and community in full force again. Yeah, thinking about it now, from my perspective, it's definitely I definitely took socializing and in-person collaboration for granted, and it's something I've missed dearly during this time. And yeah, maybe coming out of this, everyone will feel incredibly grateful to have these opportunities again, and as a community, all of us can thrive and find success in our opportunities and jobs and employment.
Yeah, and it's the same thing, right? Like coffee chats and high fives and birthday parties, or like the donuts that were brought on because we were celebrating someone's birthday, or all of these things were taken for granted and taken for almost considered, like many organizations have considered that a waste of time and taking away from the productive work that we do. And I think the learning has been that without that, it is so like it's impossible to be creative.
Yeah, your production goes down.
Yeah. Your production goes down. So
when you're depressed, like you don't want to work.
You don't want to work. Yeah. So that's the thing. And that's the thing that's like I know we are all not going to take that, the next time someone invites us out for a coffee, we are all going to be like, yeah, let's go. Let's
do this.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's panels coming up that sound super exciting. You have the one discussing, you had one that just came out, the discussing equity, diversity, and inclusion in different workplaces. How did that go? And how did this all kind of come into place?
This is such a key topic, right? We've seen in this pandemic, especially that it's been called a C-session. We've seen that women have borne like a really big brunt because of their infrastructures around childcare and schooling has been completely ripped apart, and they are now working 3 jobs. Before they were working about 2, and now they're working 3 jobs. So there's been a big drop in the workforce. And we have seen from the perspective of race and equity that there is, where we are, and we still have a really long way to go. So this is, this is something that all our members showed a strong interest in. One of the ways that we think about what we are going to talk about next, in a sense, is, many of our chapters reach into their communities and people who attend and ask about some of the topics of interest, and they propose some to see where people's interests are. And this is, of course, as members of underrepresented and marginalized communities, this was topic which was very relevant and of interest to our members. It went brilliantly, as we have spectacular leaders who put together these topics and bring in. We are generously supported by panel members who graciously offer us their time and their expert views. And so this in the pandemic, one of the things that we did is that we launched a YouTube channel, because now these meetings are held virtually. It's being recorded and it's available on our YouTube channel for people to watch, whoever missed the meeting. So it's wonderful to see so many people come to terms with where we are at and come together to look for solutions and see what others are doing learn from them and look to, as individuals and as organizations take this on. Canada, the federal government of Canada has released the 50-30 challenge as well to encourage organizations to participate in improving what their what diversity looks like in their leadership teams and boards. And so there is a lot of interest in this topic, and it was one of our.
And there's another panel that's coming up, how to be a leader and how to develop leadership skills. So can you give us a quick description of what this event is all going to be about?
At IWS, we call each of the chapter leaders or the national leaders, and we were having this really interesting conversation around what does it mean to lead? People have very different ideas of what leadership looks like. And we are hoping to have some disruptive conversations around changing the norms around what we consider leadership. We've certainly seen that in this pandemic, right? We've seen really different styles of leadership. And one of the things that we've seen, whether it's Dr. Bonnie Henry here or other leaders in the public health sector across Canada, we've seen a very different style of leadership than what we generally think about, and we've seen a different view of how leadership can come about. And so we are looking to have some conversations around challenging some of the norms about what does it mean to be a leader, and who do we consider leaders. That's what the topic's about, and we already have a great panelist to have these conversations around. So for people who are interested, please feel free to join us.
Mm-hmm. When does that take place?
It is on May 27th at I think it's like 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it'll be 3 p.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, just mentioning about, what do we think of when we just hear the word leader or leadership? Yeah, generally in like Western civilization, you picture the tough guy, like, oh, he's gonna solve the problems by acting tough. It's like, no, that doesn't help with anything.
Yeah, and it's we've seen that the traditional models of leadership, stop a lot of very competent, capable, spectacular people from being of service to others and contributing as they would wish to. But also, there is this really big mismatch between who we say vote or and I don't necessarily mean politically, but even in organizations, who we allow to progress to leadership positions as being either charismatic or really confident and loud and sure, and things like these. And and it's not that these are necessarily bad characteristics, but there are other characteristics which have been underemphasized, and it doesn't serve the world that we are living into or moving towards, to have these traditional models of leadership be the ones that we are constantly holding up. So yeah, that's one of the things that we're looking forward to discussing in our next meeting.
Yeah, help change people's mindset of who can help lead their communities. That's great. Yeah, so where can people tune in to listen to these conversations? How do they find out more?
One of the best ways to find us is on Eventbrite. We always advertise there. Following us on Eventbrite is great. We also are on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook. We also have a mailing list. So many different forums to come and connect with us. And search. We have a website to make sure that you have access to all the information. So that is iwsnetwork.ca.
How are conversations evolving around immigrant women and international women in the STEM fields? From our last conversation, it sounded like there was still a lot of work that needed to be done in the workforce for those with education to be recognized for both their education and their accomplishments, and to get a job in their chosen field.
There is still a lot of work to be done. This is a long time, deeply held, entrenched policies and practices that we are looking to shift. So there is still a lot. It's been about a few months since we last chatted. So what has shifted in that is that, so the outcomes haven't seen that much of a shift in the past few months that we've spoken. What has shifted is this growing awareness about some of our policies that we have. Certainly we've seen, when we think about one of the places that we've seen a really big shift is in understanding what international students bring to our country, right? Like, suddenly saw that international students now couldn't participate in our universities anymore, and so suddenly there was this like big realization that many universities and educational institutions has to reckon with in understanding, like, wow, they are a really big contribution to our education systems, to our communities, and are a major force in making all of this happen. And so there have been shifts around perspectives around the education system and what international students bring to Canada, and especially within the STEM fields, which is always thriving. And the other shift is, of course, within the tech community, within the scientific community, and engineering communities as well. Like, and understanding that I would say that the understanding was there before, but really a heightened awareness of this talent pool, and looking to see what are the structures and policies that can be put into place to change things. There is awareness that things need to change. If we need to have better communities, then things need to shift. So that's what has happened over the past, pardon me just a minute, in the past few months since we've had our conversation. A lot of organizations are jumping on board and taking on equity, diversity, and inclusion as some of the core tenets that they want to be a part of, and really looking to see how can we harness this wonderful, wonderful talent pool, which is already here.
Something we've learned over the last year is just there's all these, systemic issues that have been, being really focused on, and, awareness is being brought of them. And yeah, things need to change, and it's going to be a while because there's a lot that needs to be changed.
When I think about equity, diversity, and inclusion, what comes to my mind is the pyramids. I always think of that because people who built that pyramid, I just imagine them, and I feel like we are in the middle phase. There has been an amazing number of people who've already been working for decades, several decades, on trying to create social change and social justice. And this is not something that has happened today. This has been going on for ages, right? Like, I was just having a conversation with my partner's mom around how life was for her as a new mom, as a nurse, working part-time, and the amount of vacation that was parental leave that was available, and what is available to us now. And at that time, you could only take 6 months of parental leave, including men and women. And as a nurse, she went back to work after 4 months each time after she gave birth. And that's because 2 months, she took the 2 months before because she was, for her, it was challenging to fulfill on the duties of what was, on the physically demanding duties that were a part of her responsibilities as a nurse. So, and she had to, that was her life. And now I have, access to 18 months of parental leave that is shared between me and my partner. And that's progress that we've made in the past few decades. So for many people, the work of equity, diversity, inclusion seems like it's a new, current thing, but we need to recognize the fact that a lot of people have been working towards this goal for a heck of a lot longer. Many of the things that we take for granted today were not available to people 30 years ago. So this is not new work. And the fact is that however much progress that we make in my lifetime, we will not end this work in my lifetime. I will not be reaching the perfect, I will not be the one who will be, or my generation will not be the generation who will be building the top of the pyramid and putting the gemstone or whatever it is on the top. That's not, I recognize that that's not achievable in our lifetime. And the pyramid will never be built if we all don't work towards it, right? So it's the work of generations together. Generations have worked towards it before us, and generations will work towards it after us. And the hope is that, and this is the optimist in me, is that as we move forward, every generation creates a world that the next generation inherits, and it is a better world than was left towards them, to them. And that's what I work towards when I am in this field.
Yeah, continuing the work from our predecessors.
Yeah.
Continuing, just kind of starting this is the next wave.
Yes.
There was a wave before. We're working on the success that they saw, and now let's keep moving forward for next generations.
Yes.
Fantastic. So, we've talked a little bit about some of the upcoming panels and talks. What are some other things in the future of international or immigrant and international women in science?
Well, one of the really exciting projects that I have been we've gotten rollout on is we've established a partnership with wonderful organizations out here and gotten access to some grant funding. And we are looking to launch, it's a very comprehensive program. And, stay tuned for what's coming up, because this grant funding is going to allow us to really offer deeper, more comprehensive, more meaningful resources to our community members as a part of IWS Network. And we are very excited about this partnership. So I can't give all the information out yet because there's going to be a press release soon. So watch for it and stay tuned. As an organization, we are super excited about it. And it'll be a great opportunity for underemployed, unemployed immigrant women who are looking for to step up and contribute to their fullest capacity. There will be an amazing breadth of resources which are going to be available to them. And we are looking forward to doing our part in offering the part of the program.
If you have any stories you'd like us to share or communities we should highlight, leave a comment on our social media or reach out to us on our website. I'm Ryan Funk. This was You Talk, and have yourself a good one.